So we've created this shape back here called neon outside. We've softened it up, and now what we're going to do is finish the cycling action so that it turns on and then turns off again. And then we'll also add some details around the window, like it's picking up this light from outside so people can imagine there's something there without us actually having to show a sign and take up space to do that. First thing we'll want to do is, of course, to go ahead and get our actions palette open. This is covered also in another movie if you'd like more details on this. We are at time frame 0 right here, and that's fine. I'm going to come to the top level of this entire structure right here, the room build, so that I can have access to any action I create by simply clicking on this top level. That also is covered in an earlier movie. We will click on that button, and we're going to name this action Neon Sign, and choose OK. Now, this one goes red, lets us know we're in the action window here. I'm going to disengage this layers palette so it's easier to see some options that we'll be working with right here. The number one option I want to engage right here, we'll highlight that layer, and I'm going to click on the little disclosure arrow that gives me some options right here. I could change the name, but what I'm going to do is cycle this once and make sure that's on, and click Apply. Let me pull this over just a little bit. That's set up as apply. Let me go ahead and close this up again. I'm going to come back and make sure that that is the case here. Just double checking. Okay, that says it's visible. Good. What I want to do is, let's say, how long do I want this on? Let's go 1001, 1002. So it's not super twitchy, but it goes on and off, and we'll notice that. So 2 seconds long and maybe a half second off. So at frame 48, let's see if I can go ahead and cycle this again right here. Click Apply. What if I turn this off? Apply. There we see our keyframe light up. I want it to turn off at that point. I'm going to come to frame 60, right click, add keyframe. And what we'll do here is I'll go ahead and right click on that. And I can't raise this any higher, so my apologies, but there's a menu that drops down, and we're going to choose the Cycle Tweener action. This is the new window that pops up that changed since the tutorial started because of an update to the program. So what we're going to do for interpolation, and this lets you see exactly what I chose, is cycle. We have the option now to go ahead and say, okay, what do you want to do with it? And I want an absolute cycle back to the exact frame 1, which is going to be the very beginning here. And I'll say, okay, perfect. And we see the little arrow coming back here. It goes back to this first item right here. And let me go ahead and come to frame 1. With this enclosed, we can see that the visible is not turned on there. So I want to add a visible checkbox. Click Apply. And in theory, it should be fine. Let's see, our box is still showing. Let me scrub the timeline here. There it disappears. Then we kick back to here and be on. So that looks good. I'll come back to, let me close this up, our main timeline. And we see that we have a cycling action engaged. We can actually delete this if we want to because it's on the main timeline. It's not showing up as an action. Normally, when I engage actions, I like to do it from the top side down so that we can see we've got a cycling action in place. I'll advance to timeline 1 here. I'll come to Neon Sign, choose Insert Reference. Now we're not seeing it here. Let's go ahead and click on the neon outside and make sure. There, sure enough, we can see the action taking place and we can see the layer appearing and disappearing across time there. Okay, that looks great. Let's go ahead and now create the other details inside. To do that in front of the room wall, and I don't necessarily have to do it inside of this layer. I could do it above this layer if I wanted to, because this extra little detail will be entirely above it. But since we've got other actions occurring within this area, I'm going to add another one. So there's room wall. I'm going to create a new vector or image layer. And actually, I need to come back to time frame 0 to do that. Let's try this again. Vector. And we'll name this one Neon Edge. And click OK. I will grab, let me get this out of the road just for now, the drawing tool right here, add point tool. And I want this light to be coming in and kind of illuminating this edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag. And we're still on the same layer. I am going to right across this edge right here. Go ahead and click and drag. Looks like we joined that line. And then finally down here right across the bottom a little bit. Let's click and drag. So we have got multiple lines there. I'm going to choose the Select Points tool here and just draw a lasso around it since I have lasso engaged. Make sure I get everything. And we'll come to our Bucket tool and click. And these are all red. I'm going to go ahead and select the shapes here. Shift click to get them all. And I have this set, the last line was 8, and that's A right now, and the stroke is red. So the next thing to do would be to add a very similar cycle action, same amount of frames as the one on the exterior right here, so that these cycle to match the glow that's occurring outside to help people understand what's going on. I do need to blur this a little bit though, or it will look like a harsh edge right there. So let's come down to blur radius and get something like maybe 3. No, how about 6? And we want to be able to see through that a little bit, so I'll give it a opacity of 60. And let's go ahead and change the layer blending mode to screen as we did with the one outside and choose OK. The last step is to go ahead and create the cycling action. It's just like the one we did for the outside, but then we'll go ahead and have a complete window illumination that works in rhythm like a sign's turning on and off.